Welcome back to the Sports News Analysis YouTube channel, your home for NFL talk here on YouTube. My name is Mike. Franchise tag is a term you're going to hear a lot here, specifically in the next week or so. Starting on Monday, February 17th, teams will be allowed to franchise tag one of their future free agents. Remember, these guys don't become free agents until March 11th. So technically, a team can franchise tag one player of theirs that is due to become a free agent. An exclusive franchise tag, which is the tag I'll be talking about here and the one you hear in media circles all the time, gives the right for a team to sign a player, again, that will be a free agent. They have to pay him either the top 5 of the average contracts at his position or 120% of his previous year's salary, whichever is more. You see this tag applied, some years more than others. Okay, I'm going to go down 10 players that have been popularly linked to the franchise tag here in the 2014 offseason and let you know the likelihood that I think they'll get franchised or won't get franchised. And, the first guy we'll start off with is Aqib Talib, the cornerback for the Patriots. Remember, they got him at a serious discount last year. They got him at 1 year, $5 million. So I don't think they're going to franchise Talib because the franchise number, so the average of the top 5 salaries at the corner position this year is expected to be between $11 and $12 million. To me, Talib is not an $11, $12 million corner. I look for the Patriots to try to sign him to a long-term deal, maybe 3 years, $20 million, something to that effect. That's a deal I think works certainly for both sides, especially for a guy like Talib, who likely does not want to be franchised and keep on going year to year with these contracts like he has here the last 2 seasons. Next, I'll go to Michael Johnson, the defensive end of the Bengals. Look, the Bengals made it pretty clear when they extended Carlos Dunlap, they extended Geno Atkins, and they franchise tagged Michael Johnson last year, that they probably have no intentions of signing him long-term. So don't look for a long-term deal to get done with the Bengals, and also don't look for the Bengals to franchise Michael Johnson. He'll be one of the sought-after free agent defensive ends along with Greg Hardy this year, who I'll get to in a second. But I think he'll be a sought-after free agent defensive end. Don't look for him to get the tag placed on him by the Bengals. Next is Dennis Pitta of the Baltimore Ravens. And not many people have him on their franchise tag list. I think he's a perfect candidate for it because if you look, the franchise number for a tight end is about $6 million. Okay? When Pitta is healthy, all right, and performing like he did in 2012, to me he's all worth that $6 million. What you don't know, however, is if he's worth that long-term money based on the health concern he had last year. So why not sign him for 1 year, $6 million? He's a very dependable target for Joe Flacco. It was noticeable without him and Bolton that Flacco suffered last year. So I look for Pitta to definitely be a franchise tag candidate, especially when you consider the Ravens probably want to focus their long-term money to a guy like, let's say, Eugene Monroe, the left tackle they traded for, who's also a free agent. From Dennis Pitta to the biggest, the 2 best guys you hear with the franchise tag, sort of title attached to them. And we'll start off with Jimmy Graham. I know Jimmy Graham doesn't want to be, but I think he's a perfect candidate to be franchise tagged because you look, even with all the cuts the Saints made this week, they're still in a very bad salary cap situation. I look for them to even make more cuts in order to be able to fit Jimmy Graham in under that, tender for the franchise tag at the tight end position. Now, where the confusion with Graham comes in is you get tagged based on the position you played the most the year before. And the difference between the tight end tag, which is $6 million, and the wide receiver tag, which is about $11 million, is $5 million. That's huge. I mean, for the Saints, at $6 million, it's an absolute no-brainer. Even at $11 million, it probably is as well, but that's a big difference. Expect if he is tagged as a tight end, expect Graham to file some kind of grievance. But, with that said, at $6 million, it's a no-brainer to me, especially given their salary cap situation, one of the 5 worst in the league, for the Saints to go ahead and definitely franchise Jimmy Graham. The most prized offensive free agent in Graham to the most prized defensive free agent in Greg Hardy. And look, Greg Hardy is a guy who is probably going to be due to make on a long-term deal between $12 and $13 million a year. All right. Now, the franchise number for a defensive end will be between $11 and $12 million. Keep that in mind. But also keep in mind the Panthers have, Charles Johnson locked up to a 5-year, $78 million contract. They have a lot of other free agent concerns, most notably Jordan Gross on top of Greg Hardy, and he's going to command a lot of money, probably in the minimum in the 6-year, $80 million a year, $80 million a year, yeah, right, 6 years, $80 million range. And I think when all is said and done, I don't think the franchise tag makes sense for the Panthers because they don't have a good salary cap situation as it is, and they have a lot of free agents that they're hoping to retain. So I don't think Greg Hardy's going to be back with the Panthers. That's just my personal opinion. I think he's going to hit free agency, and I think he's going to get blown away with an offer. And I personally don't see him as a member of the Panthers next year. Again, I know a lot of people think he'll get franchised, but if you look at the Carolina Panthers numbers here as far as the salary cap goes, tell me how he's going to be franchised. They'd have to cut a significant amount of players here on top of all the free agents they already have in order to do that. I just don't see it. The next two I want to talk about here, guys, are the two Browns that have been talked about the most. Safety TJ Ward and center Alex Mack. First of all, with Alex Mack, I don't see any way it makes even half sense to franchise him. Look, offensive linemen are all grouped as one. So you would have to pay basically a center that Alex Mack is, the top 5 at the position, which is mostly taken from the left tackles in the league. And you would have to pay Alex Mack like $11 million next year in a franchise year. While the Browns could certainly afford it because they have $45 million in cap space, do you really want to dedicate $11 million in a year to a center? I know Alex Mack is an excellent center, but I would look to offer him a long-term deal. You can definitely get him for way less than $11 million per year annually. I'd look that route rather than even think of franchising him. TJ Ward, to me, with the space that they have, the salary cap space they have, if they can't reach a long-term deal with TJ Ward, they should absolutely franchise him. The franchise number for a safety is $8 million. He's worth that on a one-year deal, especially given, again, the Browns have $45 million in salary cap. Maybe the easiest decision on this list for me, outside of Graham at $6 million, is TJ Ward at $8 million. Staying in the secondary with Brent Grimes. Brent Grimes had an excellent season last year. But the fact remains he's on the other side of 30 years old. And if I'm the Dolphins, I'm more apt to offer him a long-term deal, let's say a 3-4-year deal at between, $6, $7, $8 million per year, than even think about franchising him again at that mark between 11 and 12 million that cornerbacks will stand to make in this franchise market. I don't think that makes any sense for the Dolphins. And I know Brent Grimes wants a long-term deal, so maybe 3 years, $24 million, 4 years, $32 million. That would get the deal done and certainly save them money on the cap this year going forward. And the Dolphins are another one of these teams that has over $30 million in cap space this year, and using it to lock up Brent Grimes long-term is something I definitely think they should do. My last two guys here, two more secondary players. We'll start with Alterraun Verner from the Titans. Look, I thought Verner was an okay option to get franchised only because he's 25 years old. But the Titans don't think so. I mean, every report you hear is that they won't be franchising Verner. Again, that $11, $12 million is a big number. And the Titans only have about $6 million in cap space as of now. You look at that roster, you wonder where all that money is being spent because, outside of Chris Johnson, who maybe they cut, I don't know where that money is being spent on that roster. I don't see them with an overly good amount of players there. But nonetheless, that's going to keep them from being able to sign Verner long-term and franchising him, in my opinion. I think he walks, and I think a team gets a gem in a 25-year-old Pro Bowl cornerback in Verner. Lastly, guys, is Jairus Byrd from the Bills. Look, I know the Bills desperately want to retain him. They're another team with not a lot of salary cap flexibility. Even bringing Byrd back at $8 million at the franchise tender would be seriously strapping the Bills. I don't see any way they make this work. I think Jairus Byrd walks, and with TJ Ward, in my opinion, getting the franchise tag from the Browns, Byrd stands to cash in huge as far and away the best safety on the free agent market. Look for him to get a deal similar to the one Deshaun Goldson got last year from the Buccaneers. Guys, that's my rundown on the top 10 guys likely to be franchised or a chance of them being franchised by their current team. Let me know what you think on my take on this. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter as well. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, guys. You can just check out my library of videos here on YouTube, all about the NFL all the time. Be sure to subscribe. It's completely free. Have a great day.